Good to see you then.
Good to see you and welcome to the Patpong Museum, gentlemen, please. What you will get today on top of a tour with me, which is not the standard tour guide tour. Maybe I know less about each individual detail, but I can give you some background. But what you also get today is a bit of a preview
Of what's coming up.
because we are preparing two entire new sections in the exhibition.
Yes, I've heard about that.
For the reopening on December 1st. So maybe we start here.
Yeah.
Despite pretty difficult circumstances due to COVID after the opening, right? We opened in October 2019, and then 5 months later, the world changed.
That's right, yes.
We managed pretty well. We reopened last year. We reached out to the local audience, and we made it to TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice 2021. Top 10% worldwide attractions. And we did win 3 weeks ago the Museum Thailand Award 2021. Cool. So this section here is basically the beginning of Patpong, explaining the historical context. Where do the Patpong pannets come from? How did the street get its name? How come it involves the largest industrial conglomerate of Thailand? How come it involves the King of Thailand? And what a type of person this Luang Patpong Panet actually was, and that he educated his children abroad and the implications that brings with it in terms of the relationship to the CIA. The concept of the museum is to tell the history of Southeast Asia, 20th century, through the perspective of Patpong Road, and whoever kind of thinks, oh, that's a bit far-fetched, I think the museum proves that, yeah, it's possible. We can actually track all major events of 20th century relevant to Thailand, to Bangkok, to Southeast Asia, China, the US, here.
It's all linked.
It is all linked.
It's all linked.
And the further we work and the more we get donations and people drop off letters and we do more research, the more amazing links and nodes appear. It's really amazing.
Exactly, yes.
So in the first section, we cover the beginning of Patpong from a historical point of view, China, and how it all started. Here, we explain and we tell the story how Patpong actually became the central business district of Bangkok right in 1950, right after the war. This here was the Wall Street of Bangkok, the most modern infrastructure the country provided. So,
would I be right in saying last video I did here last week, I said this is really what they classify the CBD of Bangkok. What do you call it? The
Central Business District, CBD, yeah, right. So here, for example, in this building where we stand right now, this was the IBM building.
Oh, okay.
Big Blue was here and their first supercomputers were here. All major airlines are here. Major news and press agencies like UPI, Associated Press, they were all here. And why? Because the infrastructure here just provided the necessities they needed. They needed access to telegraph cables, direct access to international phone lines, so all that was given here. Unique in Bangkok, nowhere else. Hiding behind this is the CIA and other Western intelligence services that are kind of preparing to fortify Thailand for the Cold War.
That's right.
And then to operate from here parts of the hot war, the secret parts of the hot war in Vietnam, actually more Laos and Cambodia.
This was the respite. That was all happening across the border, and this is where it all sort of coagulated.
Right. And a secret war is a war without rules. Many things become possible for those that are in charge, and it gives kind of like a platform and space for very colorful characters. The famous one 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗅, through which we tell the story of the Vietnam War, actually. These are new pieces of exhibit that we added to the collection. Very interesting Thai propaganda posters. This one is kind of like Thailand cannot retreat one step further. And we already see the projection also, the army as the defender of the people. This one, a very like curiosity piece. This is for Thai military and government officers to warn them from like keep your mouth shut. Mm-hmm. So women and gambling are going to entice you to reveal your secrets of war. Yes. So yeah, so here we're basically designing the whole Vietnam War section new, focusing a lot on 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and how he inspired Apocalypse Now. The character of Colonel Kurtz, it's really modeled right after him, even though the producers of the movie kind of play with it. No, it's not, but yes, it is. And then something very exciting here is 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗔𝗧𝗘𝗏, the serpent.
Okay, I'm actually watching that video right now, the series right now.
Then even in the series, it is featured that the scene where they go to the go-go bars.
Yep.
So that's in Patpong, that's actually the Mississippi Queen. Yesterday, Thai PBS just broadcasted a 30-minute piece they produced where they really dig deep, and they reached out to me, and then I reached out to actually someone who spent time with 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗏 in Patpong in a Mississippi Queen bar on several occasions in the 70s, and they walked home together because they lived right next to each other in Saladang. So here we focus on 𝗙𝗟𝗟𝗏, the serpent, and the murders that are considered to be the bikini killer murders, the 5 victims that got killed in Thailand, and what all of that has to do with Patpong. So bringing really the connects here. One of the victims was taken to Patpong the night before she got murdered in Chonburi, and he was a frequent visitor, the Mississippi Queen, and so forth. So there's a lot of context. So here, what we're adding here into this model is many QR codes. I think here we are already completed. Yep. And each QR code represents a full virtual reality scan, so that our visitors will be able to just take their smartphone, they're here logged into our Wi-Fi, then they scan the QR code, and they will actually see the inside, and they can navigate on the inside by themselves.
In a 3D environment.
In a 3D environment.
With avatars and...
Yes, it is, at this moment in time, it is a still, but a 3D through which you can navigate, and we have several assets embedded in it further. And we plan to expand this throughout the whole model here.
Yeah. Sounds good.
This here is our Wall of Fame, which is an augmented reality piece where you basically scan the silhouette that you think you know who it is to check if your knowledge is correct.
I'm going to cheat because I know this first one's David Bowie.
This would be Jean-Claude Van Damme. And then you see also the movie that they filmed here, and the entrance sequence after this Klong ride is already Patpong.
Right, yeah.
You mentioned David Bowie, I guess that's him. So David Bowie filmed an entire music clip, the Ricochet, here in Patpong in the Superstar Go-Go Bar. Then we have Christopher Walken, Robert De Niro.
No, I can't remember it all.
I'm not gonna destroy the fun.
That's it. That's fun for you. Fun for the viewers when they get here.
Spoiler alert. Exactly.
Spoiler alert. That's it. That's what they call it. Spoiler alert.
What we will do as well is a whole wall on Patpong and the weed, which involves a lot of Australian people in the 70s and 80s, surfers. that actually developed the superstar bar in Patpong into one of the top 10 places on the global marijuana trade map. It all ended with the seizure of the 𝗥𝗘𝗟𝗅𝗏 Bay ship off the coast of Washington, west coast of the US, with 72 tons of
Cannabis.
weed
Yeah, yeah.
on
When,
board.
when was that?
That is 1988.
88.
That was the end of it.
Yeah.
And it really, it started in the 70s. So they
Yeah,
had
I
a-
remember back in the early 80s, we got some of the best Thai sticks in Australia. It was absolutely magic stuff.
that's so yeah, this is the new portion that is under development now. So we are rebuilding the original shop front of the Mississippi Queen Bar, where the Deer Hunter was filmed.
Oh, okay, yes.
We're
yes.
showing the Deer Hunter, just the sequence, the 45 seconds of in the Mississippi Queen. Assistant to the producer of the Deer Hunter in Thailand is consulting us here on putting actually the whole thing together. It's very nice.
Into the bar.
Into the bar. This bar is kind of inspired by the Grand Prix bar, which was the first go-go bar in Patpong in 1967. Founded by 𝗟𝗡𝗙𝗏𝗏𝗡, an American, a soldier in the Vietnam War who did not want to return to Vietnam and who opened a real sports bar, Grand Prix bar. Very famous for broadcasting the races, Formula One, boxing matches, all kinds of things. And it is him who couldn't get an entertainment license. And an entertainment license was required in Thailand back at the time for dancing and music. So music was considered to be a band playing, and dancing was a man and a woman dancing together. So what he did is he put in a jukebox, and he put in a box, a wooden crate, and put the woman on the crate so she couldn't dance with the man, logically. The police came in and they were like, oh, you got no license, this doesn't work. And he was like, oh, there is no band playing and there's no dance. She's standing on this crate here. And they really couldn't get him on that. So the go-go bar was born. Put women on a crate on a stage, separate them from the men, and you don't need the entertainment license.
Really?
Yep.
Is that still standing today, or has it changed?
It's quite different today.
It is quite different today.
That's how it started and developed from the early 70s, then over into the 80s and 90s. Today it's different with zoning laws and all kinds of things. So what we do here is, this is like a replica bar. It's not a real bar. We just have this bar here for special events. If somebody wants to have a party in the museum, we're going to start to have a new format like Night at the Museum, once a week, doing a bit of activities. Before we go from here to the 𝗥𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏 section, where you may have to blur some of your the content that you film, so what we do up until here is we give a fun and entertaining and interactive tour through the history, basically, from the very beginning until the 70s, 80s, when Patpong really becomes a red light district. And as it became a red light district, and was until COVID, we have to show that as well as a Patpong Museum. Many of the visitors expect, like, Patpong Museum, oh, it's going to be a sex museum. But it's actually quite the other way around.
No, totally
you get to
not,
see
yeah.
all of this up until here, and then on the last large section, we dive into what it's also famous for, so you get to see an idea of what is a ping pong show. So many tourists come to me and say, oh, I want to see a ping pong show, I want to see a ping pong show, and I'm like, no, you don't. Oh, yes, we do, and then we tell them where to go and make sure that maybe they don't get robbed there. And afterwards, they're like complaining, no, this was horrible. And I was like, I told you, you wanted to go. So I really wanted to do the ping pong show here. So they are informed. And if they then still want to see it or in live, okay, go ahead. I think we found a good way to do that. Decent, also for female visitors, it's all right.
It's very tactfully done. We'll see it in a minute. Yeah.
I think so. I think so. And we have a fetish club in Patpong that is also honored here. One of the flagship stores in Patpong, the Black Pagoda, is featured. Various go-go bars. Yeah, just what it's famous for. So here, maybe on this side, we mix modern art, contemporary art by a French artist who owns one of the largest Thai porn magazine collections from the 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. And he uses them to compile them into modern interpretations. So this is called Censored, and it shows the self-censorship of the porn magazines in the 70s, where they were kind of how it was done. He did a book on the Strip, a go-go bar, and then these are photographies from the Strip by a famous Austrian director, movie director, who came to Patpong to film a movie. Here we kind of come to the end of the X-rated section already with a collaboration project with an Italian artist, photographer. This is a big piece from one of the top talents here in Thailand, top acclaimed artist 𝗏𝗏𝗙𝗢𝗏 from the younger generation. It will be on exhibition for Gallery Nights 2021, and that's why it's packed and wrapped. And now we come already back to the entrance. And here is going to be our bar and coffee shop. We'll have a few Patpong specific cocktails. We plan to issue for every ticket also a little voucher for the shop and for the bar here, so that people can also enjoy the whole thing with a little bit of a refreshment and sit down and talk.
And it's not expensive. I think it was 200 baht, was it, for the entry?
The entry fee, the standard fee is 350 baht.
350 baht, yes. But I think you got a drink with that
exactly.
as well, didn't you? Yeah.
So we will continue that, but on a voucher basis, because some people, they don't like to drink, they would like to buy something in the shop.
Yep.
We just give out the voucher as part of the ticket price. We're going to have a couple of promotions, as I mentioned, night at the museum, yeah, and so forth.
Yeah.
Lots of
well, for just a little bit of a $10 US, I think it's definitely sort of something that if you're coming into,
I think so.
If you're coming into Bangkok, this place here is definitely going to put it on. There'll be a pin down below in my description box. These guys will probably have on their videos as well. But definitely sort of put your name down. Come on and check it out. December 1?
December 1.
December 1.
Very welcome, yes,
yeah.
absolutely.